Kol omer krav amar ma'akra, kol habasar chatzir, v'chol chasto katzitz hasadeh, yavesh chatzir novel tzitz ki ruach Adonai nashva bo. Achen chatzir ha'am, yavesh chatzir novel tzitz, u'devar Eloheinu yakum li'olam. A voice says, cry out. But I ask, what shall I cry? All flesh is like grass, and all of its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, and the flower fades, when a wind from God blows upon it. Surely, therefore, people are like grass. The grass withers, and the flower fades, but the word of God endures forever. LeDavid mizmor l'Adonai ha'aretz umloah, tevel v'yoshveva, ki u'al yamim yisada, v'al nahorot yichaneneha. Mi ya'aleh bahar Adonai, u'mi yakum bimkom kadsho, neki chapayim uvar levav, asher lo nasa lashav nafshi v'lo nishba lamirma. The earth is the Lord's with all of its fullness. The world is the Lord's with all of its inhabitants. Who may ascend the mountain of the Lord? Who may stand in the holy place? He who has clean hands and a pure heart. He will receive a blessing from the Lord and a just reward from the God of deliverance. He never ran out of warmth. He never ran out of gentleness. And he never ran out of kindness. Roz and Susan and Scott, to the entire family. Your husband, your father, always made time to be with people, always made time to socialize and to meet people, whether at work or at play. He made friends. Roz, you said he took you around the country club and you realized you were walking around with the mayor of the country club because everybody knew him. That was your husband. He wanted to be everywhere and with everyone. And he always had enough of himself to go around with you, Susan and Scott, and with your families, and then later with you, Roz, and you with your families. He was the same loving person. He forged special bonds with his customers. He forged special and lasting bonds with all of you, his family and friends. It's interesting. I found it interesting that his favorite spectator sport was baseball because of all the sports, baseball has no clock counting down until the end of the game. In other words, if the hitters keep getting hits, the game could theoretically go on forever. And Don certainly would have loved his game of life to go on forever because he loved it. He loved life. He collected stamps. He collected coins. He collected baseball cards. I know he never met a golf ball he didn't like, not only to play with, but to collect. He loved all of these, along with bowling and playing cards. And I think one of the reasons he liked all of these things, not only for the activity, it was simply another way to get together in a group and spend time together with other people. Because what he collected most that was so precious to him were his friends. He carried great spirit into his life. Even though his life contained some bounces, he had health concerns, beginning when he was in his 40s, when he suffered from heart issues, and they continued. And he also had other physical setbacks. Physically, he had setbacks, but he always had a love for life, and he had a will for life. And that will for life was enhanced as he met and fell in love with June. He was only 20 and she was only 17, but they married. She was so young, her parents had to go on the honeymoon with them. I wonder what that breakfast table looked like at the honeymoon. They moved to Cleveland, and here the two of you grew up, always feeling loved and cared for, and always knowing that your dad was proud of you, very proud of you. Not only as kids, but as adults. Susan, he was proud of you as being the first to graduate college, proud of your teaching, and Scott, for your sports in high school and for your accomplishments in career. You knew your dad was proud of you. Your mom, June, took care of your dad and took care of the home. He was often traveling and sometimes working late, and your mom was his ideal partner. And then she died, and her physical decline was very fast, and it was very difficult for him and for you, very difficult, to wrap your arms around what had just happened. It was a devastating loss, and he truly seemed lost to you during that time. And then Roz, you and Don found each other. And you and he have been together 29 years. You had many mutual friends, and you knew you had just gotten close to a just and a kind soul. The only thing that you were concerned, I know you woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning every morning. You thought he had a girlfriend. But his girlfriend was golf, evidently, right? He became not only your husband, but grandfather to an entirely new group. A father and a grandfather to an entirely new group, a new family. And your family also discovered what a sweet person he is and was. He had been raised in a family and was close to his parents and close to his younger brother, Alan. But his home of upbringing was of modest means. He was raised knowing and respecting the value of $1, and he knew that hard work was the way to attain that. Hard work was something he believed in. Hard work was something that you always knew growing up. Growing up in his household was part of his ethic, was part of his makeup. Education was also important, not only for the two of you, Susan and Scott, but later in life he tutored migrant workers to teach them basic skills in order to better themselves. During his years with you, Roz, I know he seemed to be getting younger. He stayed active. He stayed social. He loved being a grandfather. It's interesting. Stephen, Greg, and Marcy, all of you remember his constant presence in your lives. Not an occasional appearance, but a basic and regular part of your lives. It's interesting. All of you remember traveling with him. Stephen and Greg remember traveling on the train with him, going downtown, learning how to love travel. And Marcy, you remember driving around with him. I think your grandfather was a man who wanted a journey in life that would be filled with the people he loved and with the schedule of things that he loved. And he wanted that journey accompanied by the people he loved. I think, who was it, went to Len Barker's Perfect Game? Who said that? Steve said that? Yeah. Greg? Life is never a perfect game. But he certainly brought his spirit into every aspect of his life. He carried with him also an appreciation for his Jewish identity. He had not become a bar mitzvah early on because of lack of funds, but he went to Israel and had a bar mitzvah event there at the Western Wall. And so his Jewish feeling remained strong. I'll tell you, I don't care what anybody says, I don't care what we teach little kids, it isn't easy to share. We teach kids to share and how important it is to share. It's great advice, but it's difficult to share. You each of these families, you became a blended family through him, and you each shared someone you loved so deeply and who was so fundamentally important to you. And he was a man who could share his love with people, and they all loved him in return. And he always made you feel special. He reached out to people, he remembered people, he savored that human connection, he maintained that connection and vitality as long as he could. He had frustration towards the end when he realized there were some things he was not going to be able to do. But he certainly always taught you, his family, to build bridges with people and to give of yourself and to show warmth and to savor life and to give back to life. That's the way he lived, and that is what we remember as he has died. Steve, I think you're going to come forward.
Hello, everyone. I'm Papa Don's oldest grandchild, Steve Grains. When I sat down to collect my thoughts about my Papa Don Levey, it occurred to me how deeply he shaped me and, really everyone that's here and many other people just through his sense of adventure and his sense of humor. Don Levey was born in Detroit, Michigan, and as the rabbi said, he grew up during the Depression. He loved to regale me with stories of his childhood, sharing with me his lifelong love of baseball and of jazz. Near the Jewish neighborhood where he grew up, he played pickup baseball with friends who later became the legendary musicians like saxophonist Illinois Jacquet, his trumpeter brother Russell, and the pianist Sir Charles Thompson. Later, as a young man, he would frequent the local gambling dens where the in-house live entertainment was none other than Ella Fitzgerald. In Detroit, he married his beloved wife, my mama June. Eventually, Don and June and their children, my mom Susan and my uncle Scott, they moved to Cleveland. Papa worked very hard, and despite his lack of a formal education, was determined to learn about and understand the world beyond his backyard. He and Mama June thought it was important for the grandchildren to explore the world as well, taking me to visit the castles of Europe, and later taking my younger brother Greg on his own European vacation. Sadly, for my younger sister Marcy and our cousins Jonathan, Jordan, Colton, and Chase, Mama June's untimely passing interrupted this meaningful tradition. Papa also thought it was important to experience the city of Cleveland and all of its athletic and cultural riches. During the summers of my youth, whenever the Indians had a home game, Saturday home game, Pop and I took the Rapid downtown to grab lunch at the old Higbee's dining room, followed by a tribe game at Municipal Stadium. Together in 1981, and allegedly with my brother, we watched a perfect game. I remember it like it was yesterday. Len Barker was on the mound. For the final out, a Toronto hitter hit a short pop fly to center field that felt like it hung in the air forever before safely landing in Rick Manning's glove. Pop and I went nuts, a perfect game on a perfect day. I know that my cousin Jonathan shared some of this magic when Jonathan was 12. He and Papa Don went to a spring training game to go see the Baltimore Orioles. At the end of the game, Papa Don and Jonathan just walked right into the Baltimore Orioles locker room. They asked him who he was, and he just said that he was one of the rotisserie owners. And they got to talk with all the different Orioles. Definitely one of Jonathan's fonder memories. As I grew older, I still loved spending time with Papa Don whenever I could. He really was just so much fun. When I lived in Washington, D.C. during law school, Papa accompanied me out for what turned into a wild night at my favorite local haunt, a seedy Algerian bar in the Adams Morgan section of the city. As he would later recount, I drank a glass of wine that night 9 times. He definitely had a sense of humor and didn't take himself too seriously. When my Uncle Scott was in 7th grade, he received a report card that had all Fs. Terrified of what Papa Don was going to do, he took his report card and he hid it in the big dictionary so no one could see it. And when Papa Don asked him where his report card was, he said he just simply received them. Never received one. 2 years later, Papa Don found his way over to that dictionary and lo and behold, discovered that report card. But at that point, what could he do? He just laughed because he knew he was bested. The one thing that Papa Don and I did not share was a love of golf. Thankfully, he had my younger brother Greg, my Uncle Scott, and Scott's kids for that. He took Jordan to hunt golf balls. That just seems to me insane, but he took Jordan to hunt golf balls, taking on alligator risk just to get a couple more golf balls. Somehow they survived, and let's hope Jordan didn't have to take too much alligator bait. After my papa married Roz, and they relocated to Florida, we had a weekly Saturday morning date to chat on the phone. And when we didn't connect, I loved a signature message. "This is your grandfather calling." When our twins, George and Theodore, were born in 2011, Papa and Roz booked the first flight they could come to see us in Los Angeles. Ever the adventurer, Papa insisted on going deep in LA, eating Langer's famous pastrami on a sketchy downtown LA corner, and then sampling the spiciest southern Thai food in town at our favorite dive in East LA. So I'm here to represent the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren. Myself, Greg, Marcy, Jonathan, Jordan, Colton, and Chase, and of course, Samantha, Benjamin, Sadie, Stella, Carson and Rocky, Sylvie, Georgia, and Theodore. As my grandfather recounted recently, contemplating this all on one of my recent visits to Florida, in his words, all this from just one shtup. He was a devoted, loving family man who adored us, all of us, and we will miss him always.
Let's rise, everybody, for the memorial prayer. El Mole Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamitzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Bemalot Kedoshim, Utehorim, Kazor Rakia Masirim, Et Nishmat, Donald Harold Levey. Shahalach lolamo, began eden tehe menuchato, anabal harachamim hastirehu, beseter kanafecha leolamim, utzror bitzrachem et nishmato, Adonai hu nachalato, v'yanuach b'shalom amishkavo, v'nomar amen. May we remember all of the worthy and the righteous deeds that he performed in the land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life. God is now his portion. May he rest in peace. And we all say amen. Let's be seated. We want to offer our condolences to the family, to Roz, to Susan and Stuart, Scott and Carol, and to Marcia and Jack, Alan, Jack and Marge, Amy and Dan, and to grandchildren, Steve and Marissa, Greg and Rebecca, Marcy and Todd, Jonathan and Jordan, Colton, Chase, Carly, Sam, Josh and Jay, Tara, Mindy and Jason, Mike, Jacqueline, Jake, Joe, and Sam and Rachel, and 13 great-grandchildren. The family will be receiving visitors following the burial portion of the service. We're going to move by processional now to the burial site for the burial. And then following the burial, family will receive friends at the Grains residence in Pepper Pike, 31000 Ainsworth Drive, 31,000 Ainsworth Drive in Pepper Pike, following services until 8 p.m. tonight, and then again tomorrow from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Please remain in your seats for another moment or two. The pallbearers, however, should now come forward.